What happens when you have to scrap your movie mid-production and start over completely? Today's guest is Brian Jervay, a Navy veteran turned indie filmmaker who went through that exact experience. His film Some Kind of Justice nearly collapsed with cast issues, crew drama, and producers vanishing. And on top of that, he was also having to deal with health issues throughout his career. Most probably would have quit, but Brian didn't. 2 years later, he rebuilt his team, reshot the film in just 8 days, and has now won over 30 awards across the globe. Here's my interview with Brian Jervay. So, Brian, why don't you go ahead and tell me who you are before the camera rolls?
I'm retired military. I did 20 years in the Navy. Um, I started out, whew, yeah, making films. I'm quite significantly older than you, I'm sure. So, I started making films back when I was 17 in 1990 at Columbia College. And anyway, while in college, I ended up meeting my wife and first wife, and we had kids, and I couldn't afford to pay the bills, so I ended up joining the Navy, and I thought that film would be a thing of the past, but it's like they say, your dreams won't let you go. If you try to leave, they'll hunt you. So after joining the Navy, while in the Navy, I made a few films here and there with some friends, and then once I eventually I retired in 2016, and so once I retired, I was like, okay, you retired. There's no reason why you can't go full on after your dream. So after that, I just been kind of consistently making something. Um, about every year, every other year, at least being if not directly shooting or shooting or directing myself, being a part of somebody else's project.
So, you mentioned you had that 20 years in the Navy service under your belt, right? You talked about, just if you don't follow your dreams, then, it comes back to haunt you. But was there a particular moment or anything that kind of like sparked your creative interest again to get back into everything?
Yeah. So when I first joined, I went away boot camp and I did, little training and came back. I'm from Chicago, so they moved me from Chicago and then took me right back to Chicago. And I had friends there that I knew from college. So while I was in Chicago, stay Chicago, I was kind of, it was kind of easy to stay with it because I would just, drive the 45 minutes to an hour from Great Lakes to Chicago and work on it. But then when I transferred, I was in a whole new area. I didn't know anybody else. And it was like, I think the first place I transferred to was Raleigh, North Carolina. And it wasn't really, I didn't know anybody there, know anything about the film community. So I kind of got to where I was like, all right, film just kind of went to the wayside, and I just was working, doing Navy things and so forth. And and then I ended up I had to go overseas for about a year or so in the Middle East. So I was over there for a while. And again, it was like, I still watched movies and everything, but it just was it got to a point in my mind where I thought where I'm not going to be a filmmaker like I wanted to. I guess this is what I'm going to be doing. And, but anyway, so one day I was talking to a friend of mine and he was just editing he took some photos and was editing them to music. And I watched that and I was like, oh man, I miss editing. And once I saw what he was doing, I was like, man, I need to get back into this. So I can't shoot one, I was in the middle. I can't, shoot these things, but I can at least write. If I can't do anything else, I can write. That's the one thing that you just need. Well, you don't even if you have pen and paper, you can write. So, I just wrote and I just wrote and wrote and I just kept writing. Some things, a lot of it was bad, but some of it was pretty decent, and I just kept writing and writing to where when I did get back, I think I transferred to Oklahoma City. And while I was there, I looked up to see if they had any type of film school. And I found the Oklahoma City Community College, right? They had Gray Frederickson. He was one of the producers of The Godfather. He had a little school inside of that community college. And so I called and talked to him and I took some classes under him. He was teaching about producing and some things. And so I got a lot of good stories from Gray too. But anyway, I uh, I talked with him and he was like, yeah, just come on, sign up for the class and just work with us. So while I was in the Navy, I mean, stationed there in Oklahoma, I was going to class after I got off work, I would just go there, sit around, listen to stories from Gray, another guy named Greg Malott. He's done quite a few things, and took their classes, and I just was like I was back in it from the time I hit there. Um, and so I thought I was gonna stay there, but then they said, no, we got to transfer you to Nashville. Came out to Nashville, like, my last 4 years of the Navy, and I was like, I just got my foot in there, and I made a good network of filmmakers there in Oklahoma. But when I got here, it was I'm started. This is Music City, it wasn't really known for big film productions and so forth. But I just kind of said, okay, well, let me do this Navy thing. I can retire in 4 years. Anyway, fast forward, when I did retire, I worked for the VA for a little bit. And then after that, I was like, all right, I can't stand this. I got to get back to filmmaking. I got to get back to it. So I couldn't find a film, like a film school. I really didn't want to do that. I just wanted to use their equipment. But I did find some acting classes. So I was like, if nothing else, I can hook up with some actors and then we can make some films, and that's what kind of did. When I went to a couple of acting schools here, and quite a few of, made some friends there, and I just said, hey, let's shoot a film. Let's shoot a film. Let's shoot a film. And so um, from there, I did a few shorts, and then I was like, okay, let's go ahead and bite the bullet and do a feature. Let me double back though. While I was in 1999, I think, when we shot a shot when I was stationed in Chicago. I hooked up with some of my old buddies that I knew from Columbia College, and I decided, I was like, man, I bet we can make a feature. And it was like, come on, because then everybody, it was more film, 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 film. But the mini DVDs, people were starting to use. And I was like, man, let's just shoot on that. We can't afford film, but we can use that. And they had a lot of pushback, but I was like, let's just do it. So we got together and we did one. Another guy wrote it. I was like, he said I was co-director. I was more of a producer on it, and it got made. It didn't really go anywhere. So then I said, all right, I want to do one that I write and direct. And I wrote one. I called it. It was like a sort of a spoof kind of, but drama at the same time, about how these rappers are like so hard, but in real life, this guy was like really wasn't that, you know. And it was showing how this image was like affecting his life and all the things he had to deal with. And so, like he had a troubled home and stuff, all these things. So we made it, and I didn't think much of it, and it got shown out the Magic Johnson Theaters out in Pan African Film Festival. I forget what year that was. So I got nominated for Best First Time Director, and I was like, oh, okay, it might be something to this. And we ended up getting it released on. I don't think it exists anymore, but it's called York Entertainment. I don't know if she's still around. She's doing something else. Well, I know she's around, but I don't know what her company is. But they distributed it on DVD. And so for that little $3,500, we quadrupled, or we made it back big time. Not enough to retire, go full time filmmaker, but enough to say, okay, I can turn a profit in this thing. Um, and then from there I went on to make other things. So anyway, I'm sorry I gave you a long answer, but
Tell me a little bit about your most recent film, Some Kind of Justice.
yeah. So Some Kind of Justice is a film that I was watching. I was watching the news one day, and I saw this father his son was murdered. And it was a guy who he tried to do everything right, tried to put him in the right neighborhood. He tried, the right neighborhood, and he tried to do all these things for his son, and it just wasn't enough. And his son was still murdered. And when I saw the look on his face, man, the hurt that he had, I was, as a father myself, it's a horrible thing. You do everything that you think you can, and it's just not enough sometimes. And so from that, I started writing it. Originally, I started writing it when we were in 2000. So originally, I started writing like in 2021. So 2022, I decided I'm going to shoot it. We have the cameras now. You can actually do it. Again, I can't afford film, but some people using iPhones. We shot on it was a Canon. I forget which camera the guy used, but we went to shoot it, and originally I was the main character, and I had cast this thing, right? I took the I'm going to just give it all to you. You edit out what you don't want. I took this DP I had around to every single location, everything, and he was like, "Everything is good. Yeah, it looks great." And I'm excited, I got the sound. And so, all right, let's go. Let's make this movie. The very first day we started to shoot, DP was like, we can't do it here. I don't know how. And I'm like, what do you mean? I took you to these locations. You said this is great. All he did every single day was say what we couldn't do, what we couldn't do, what we couldn't. So I spent half the day trying to convince this guy that, okay, look, let's do this. All right. So I'm battling this DP. Then I have actors who, a couple I knew from acting school who, yeah, everybody said it, they were into, they want to make films, they want to do this and that. They show up to set unprepared. Didn't I mean, I understand, you're gonna have to, fumble lines and things like that, but I'm talking about not even knowing the script, not knowing the character, not knowing anything. And I'm sitting here, so I'm like, oh my God, what I'm spending this money and and I got this group of people here, it seemed like working against me. And then we had issues like the sound person we got end up couldn't come until after 4 o'clock every day now. So now it's like, oh, so now we're starting like 4 or 5 o'clock PM, having to shoot and then, turn around. It was just becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger mess. And the thing that really kicked it off for me is we were shooting this one particular scene, and this actor, I won't mention his name, but my character was supposed to get into a fight with somebody and a gun goes off and he thought my character was shot. So the way, you would think he would, come up and have the adrenaline. I mean, he literally walked like he was like looking for his keys or something, like, "Hey, you okay?" I'm like, "Cut, go back, let's do this." I mean, I explained the situation to him. He come up, he did it again. And when I look to the side, my AD and one of the producers are over there just laughing, just laughing, like, hysterically how bad this was. And when I looked around, I saw how the DP's attitude was. This guy, I was like, man, I'm alone on this film. So I was like, that's it. I was like, shut it down. And I started to walk off the set. I was like, that's it. I'm done with this. And AD eventually brought me back. I was like, fine, I'm going to finish it. But I knew right then and there, like, I'm going to have to start all over. This ain't going to work. So, so a couple months go by after I shut it down, whatever. I mean, we finished, but, I was like, that's not going out. I have to reshoot this thing. Couple months go by. I was like, maybe I could use some parts of it. Well, I got hit with Bell's palsy, and I'm still not 100%, but this whole side of my face just stopped working. It got paralyzed. It just wouldn't move. And so now, and this was like, almost 3 years now from, from today. It was 3 years ago, roundabout. And so now I'm like, man, one, my face is not working. Now I got all this footage. I can't do anything with what I'm going to, what I'm saying, nothing's going to match. I was like, all right, I'm done. And so all that happened in 2002. From 2002 up until 2004, I was like, filmmaking, that's it, I'm done. I tried, it's not gonna work. Um, well, I was like, well, let me just stay in acting. I stayed in acting class all the time, even when my face was messed up. I just kept doing something. I took it like a month off because I was embarrassed about how I looked. But I was like, I mean, if this is the new you can't hide forever. So you might as well try to get used to it. Um, so anyway, I mean, I went to acting class and I kept acting, and I met this guy named Leonard Jackson. He's a star in Some Kind of Justice, the film now. I met him and I would watch him in class, and he's really good, really good. So the wheel starts spinning in my mind, like, okay, all right, I can use this guy. He can be my main character. Then that way I don't have to be the main character. One, two, I could focus more directing because I be honest with you, I don't really I act, but I don't consider myself an actor. You know what I mean? I don't really like to do it. I'll do it because it's one less person I have to pay and one less person I have to depend on showing up. But once I saw how good he is, I was like, okay, we'll use Leonard to do it, and I'll play the guy, he's playing against. You know what I'm saying? I'll be the supporting. I'll be supporting. So um I forgot to say, in the first time around, we had a guy who was signed up to play a character, and like the day before we are gonna shoot, like he dropped out on us. So that's another reason why I ended up being in the film. But anyway, this time around, I said, all right, I got rid of the producers who were supposed to be with me. It was like I was alone. So I was like, if I'm gonna be alone, I might as well be alone, you know. So I went back at it. I got him, I took one of the guy, he was the AC for the original DP. I called him and said, hey man, I think you're a good DP. You can do this. So I got him and a couple of people from the original story. And then I just got a whole new crew, you know. And I called up a friend of mine named Shayna Chavez. She's actually an actress, but she has a heart like mine. Like she really likes this, it loves this thing. And so I sent her the script and I was like, hey, can you read this? And she liked it. And she was like, if you need any help, I was like, yeah. You ever been an AD? She's like, no, but I'm willing to learn. So we kind of gave her a crash course. The original AD gave her a crash course because he couldn't be there. He gave her a crash course on how to, you know, to be an AD. And I'm telling you, man, by the second, third day, she was running it like she had been ADing for years, you know. But I'm taking this long way to say all of that showed me how important it is to have a team that believes in you and backs you, supports you, because it was night and day from the first shoot. You know, a couple of the cast members that I brought back from the first one was like, man, I can tell you're really having fun this time. Like they would say the first time it looked like he was stressed out, that you hated it. And yeah, I did, because it was just a bad situation. But when you have people, even if they didn't necessarily like understand what I was doing, they were like, okay, we support you. You know, it's your vision. We support you. And then later it was like, oh, okay. I mean, one particular scene, I don't know if you got a chance to see the movie or not, but one particular scene, there's a scene where the father's driving to confront um some people he think had something to do with his son's murder. It's a night thing, and he was like, we couldn't, it was so dark and everything. And I was like, listen, man, just put the camera right up in his face, go in this little parking lot and just drive past their light. And the DP's like, I don't think it's work. I said, please just try it. And when we did it and I showed it to him, he was like, oh, I can't, it looks like he's on the highway. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's make believe, you know what I'm saying? You have to take that, you have to take these chances and not be afraid to do these things. Cause again, like I said, it's make believe. And if we start off saying that we can't, I'm like, at least try it. And if it doesn't work, then okay, it's not film, you know, it's digital. I mean, still, we don't want to waste time, but at least it's digital. So worst case scenario, delete it, you know, you know, start over. It's not like we're shooting, because I started on shooting, I should have said that too. When I started shooting, I used to work on Bolex Super 16, used to use the old editing block with razor blades and the gloves and, you know, all of that. And it's like, that was cool. That was a lot of fun. But I mean, the reality of it is I just don't have that kind of money to even think about shooting film. And listening to, again, Gray Fredrickson, who worked on The Godfather with Mr. Coppola, you know, I was listening to some of the things they were saying, and I was watching Francis Ford Coppola was telling somebody who was saying that it's not the medium, doesn't matter what you shoot. It's like it's about the story. You know what I mean? It's about telling a story. It doesn't matter if it's film or whatever you're shooting on. It's about a story. So I some of the elitist attitude in film schools, we could talk about that. That's another thing that kind of made me think I couldn't make films for a long time, going to film school. It kind of was like, man, I don't know if this is for me. You know, it's kind of, I don't want to knock film schools, because I think it's great if you go there and get the knowledge, but the best film school to me is making a film, you know, like really. I mean, I learned a lot while I was in Columbia College. I learned a lot at Oklahoma Community College, but I learned more from actually just taking the camera out there and trying to do it myself, you know?
Before we move on, I wanted to quickly go over some of the ways that you can support me. The easiest way is subscribing to my channel and watching my latest videos. I've also started a membership program that gives you early access to videos before they go live. It starts at just $3 a month on YouTube and Patreon, and if memberships aren't your thing, you can buy individual posts directly on Patreon without the membership fee. My feature film Cashing Out is available to watch on major platforms like Amazon and Apple TV, and you can even watch for free on platforms like Tubi, Plex, and YouTube. If you want to support directly, there's a pay what you want option on my own OTT platform that starts at just $2. And if you do watch the film, it would mean the world to me to leave a review on IMDb, Letterboxd, or your favorite platform. Lastly, if you're interested in my future film projects, you can sign up for my email list. I have some exciting new films that I can't wait to share with you all. All of these items will be linked in the description below. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the show. So I want to dive more into the production process here in a second, but to take it a step back and actually get, segue into that storytelling element, I'm interested in learning about your writing process. Like you talked a little bit how you formulated the idea for this movie in particular, but how are you formulating your ideas typically? And how long does it actually take you to, come up with a concept, write the script, and up till, shooting?
I don't do it I don't know, I shouldn't say the right way, because however you do it, you do it. And in class and everything, they would say, do your outline and write it down. And I get that's better. I would save myself a lot of angst if I would just do my outline and put this. But I don't function well like that. For me, it's like I'll have an idea, and it'll just, I might hear a song or something, and I might just see a scene in my head, right? And then from there, I'll walk around with it for a little bit, and then it'll just start growing and growing. I'm like, okay, yeah, this, and it's a long time before I actually start putting something on paper. I don't advise that because there's been a few times I woke up like, wait, what was that? I forgot what I was thinking about. So that's the bad part of that. So I sleep with like something next to the bed. So if I wake up and write it down and put it, but I actually I just I was talking to a friend of mine. We were writing something together. It didn't pan out, but we were writing, and he started doing the story, and I was like, I can't work like that, and so I just start typing, and as I'm typing, I think about it. Then let's say I might write like 10 pages, okay, if I'm lucky that day. Let's say I might get 5 out, and then I just wake up the next day and I'll read it, and then if I'm not bored with it, I'll add on. If it's something that I found that's boring, then okay, wait, let me go back a little bit, find something good in it, and try to build from there. Um, and so again, typically, I would suggest, if a person can do an outline, I would suggest doing it. I don't know why I'm not disciplined enough to sit down and do it, but it doesn't work for me like that. So I'll just start writing, and as I'm writing, it'll go. So I might go. Let's say, so I'm getting ready to shoot a film that I just finished. I'm gonna shoot it in June, right? I started writing it in my head like years ago, but never put it to paper. When I sat down to put it to paper was in May, I think. No, this is May. I'm sorry. Was in March. I started to put it on paper in March, and I kept writing and writing, but I just didn't like the story, Alex. And I was like, I take that back. I like the story, but it was like this is like nothing that we have. Everybody's seen this before. So then I just had this idea, like literally about 2.5 weeks ago. I was like, oh, make it all female. I flipped it and I just started writing from there. And from the time that I started, once I got it finished, like 2.5 weeks ago, once I made it female, I was able to get through it real quick and got it finished. And so I'm like, okay, I had somebody read it. They liked it. I had somebody, people that I trust reading, and he was like, okay, cool. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to shoot. I mean, I'm going to keep rewriting it, as we're going, but I was like, I'm ready to shoot. And I recognize that that's probably not really the smartest thing to do. I should probably take more time, but I'm just wired that way. Like I get real, like I want to shoot all the time. So I'm like, all right, I will make mistakes. I'll make them on set and figure it out for the next one. But so I'm taking a long way to answer your question. From the time let's say the last two, this one here, from the time I actually sat down to really say, okay, I'm going to do it, it was, well, I should say February, not March, February. But then I started writing really fast. But it was an idea that I had just running around in my head for a while. I sat down in February, started writing. Then I decided to flip it to female. That was in April. So February, April. And I just got finished with it like last week or so, or a week and a half. I don't know, something like that. And so then I told, and I'm going to shoot it in June. Ideally, I should, I don't, like right now, I'm like, I have some money, but I'm reaching out to people. pride has been gone for trying to be since I'm a filmmaker. I'm like, I just got to ask people again, and if they can, great. If they can't, I don't advise people to use their credit cards because that's a dangerous situation, especially if you can't pay it back. But I have some money saved, and then I put some on credit card what I can and can't. And I'm just naive enough to think that it's gonna work. This is gonna be the one that's gonna hit. I just have that attitude like this is gonna be the one. And if it doesn't, then you know, hey, I'll call you back like Alex. Let me tell you what happened. Let's talk about this disaster. But yeah, I just have that attitude that I want to go because again, I'm not if I was like in my 20s or even maybe my early 30s or something like that, not that age has anything to do with it, but it kind of does. You know what I mean? I'm not in a position to where I can sit and relax because man, time is ticking for all of us. And I'm just we're all just getting older. And I'm like, okay, I already deferred my dream for 20 years to do the military. How much longer am I going to defer it? So I think that's why I have such uh, an urgency in me to want to write things because even my friends are like, "Yo, I mean, you just shot one last year. We finished this one here, some kind of just that you just saw. I shot it in April of 2004. I edited it and got the edit done by October, and then January we entered the festivals. And so my plan with this one is shoot this one in June. I take like 10 days to shoot, and then the edit process is what it is. But yeah, so again, 4 to 5 months is what this one's looking like. Last year it was, I guess, about the same, something like that. Yeah.
So as far as, trying to stay productive, because it seems like you've been very like prolific as far as, just staying consistent with doing a lot of work, right, over the years. And something that like myself and I know a lot of other filmmakers can relate to is just, just find or not being afraid of the blank page, right? Like just getting something going. So what in your advice or like how have you stayed so consistent? What's kept you motivated so much over these years to consistently do projects like that?
Well, there was a time when I wasn't though. You know what I mean? Like again, like those times when I was in and I was, I just like anybody else. I have the moments like what they say, the imposter syndrome. I was talking to my friend today, like, man, I'm talking about shooting a film. I'm an imposter. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I mean, I had that very with Shayna, the one I was taking my AD. Today I told her that. But anyway, I think what it is I know if I don't do it, nothing's gonna happen. Right. So if I sit around and just, and try to avoid it, nothing's gonna happen. And I just ask myself every day, the thing I ask myself is, do you really want this? It's kind of like when I tell my son, he used to want to play football or yeah, basketball, then football. And I told him, okay, son, yeah, if you want to play football, but I see, you kind of chilling on the couch right now. You got to go work out. You know what I mean? Like if you want it's so many other people that want it. If you want it, then you have to really do it. And so I think what broke it for me was I was like, if I can commit myself, there's this calendar. I think I got it from Final Draft, and I heard of it from. I think I heard an interview with Jerry Seinfeld said something about he had this calendar, and for a year, every day he wrote something, whatever it was. He just it made. I might be like really messing that up. I know I'm really really paraphrasing, but basically wrote every single day. And so I put that calendar up and every single day I wrote something. Like I mean, even days, it's best days, like when I'm really depressed or angry or whatever, I make just come in here. Sometimes I would just put interior bathroom night and I just walk off. That's all I wrote because I want to, I did something, and then the next day I was like, come on, man, that was stupid. Then I finish up what I wrote, but it's just the thing that if you, ultimately, Alex, I really thought about what is it that I want to do. Like I have a job now. I still have a 9 to 5. I'm retired from the military, but that's not enough to live off of. Not the way I like to live anyway. But and I have a regular job, and most people would love to have the job that I have. That's great. but I'm just like, "Oh my god," so the only thing that really brings me joy, even when I'm upset, is being on set or writing or direct, is this is the thing that I really love to do. And so I used to tell my one of my actors teachers, I was like, I would go home at night and say, if there's anything else that I like to do, please think of it. Because this is so hard, trying to make these it's so hard. Please let whatever that is come up. And I always come back to this. Like I tried to run from it so much. And it's just like, this is what you want to do. So if this is what you truly want to do, you just have to do it. I mean, so here's something funny. I hear some of the guys, like when, especially in acting classes, they're in their very young 20s, young 21, 22, some of them 25. There's a few older, but really. And I hear them all say, "Oh, I just don't have time. I don't have time." And then I said, "Okay." I just got tired of hearing. I said, "Listen, at the time I was working two jobs. I had two jobs. I had a wife. I have five kids, three dogs, two cats. And I still find time to write. So don't give me that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a matter of you don't have time. If you got time to stroll, because the same people will say that, I'll see them posting all the time, and I'm not big on social media. Like, I just kind of, I had an agent when I was acting. She was like, It'd be a good idea if you got on social media." So I'm not really big on it. Like now I just like post quotes from actors and stuff. Um, but long story short, I would see them posting. I'm like, that time that you took to text that, to put that in there, that's time you could have said, interior or restaurant, wherever, you know what I'm saying? Or exterior. That's time you could have did that. And it's more, it would have been more beneficial. Excuse me, it would be more beneficial to you. But so I just say, I'm not really in the advice giving thing because I'm trying to get there too. But what works for me is just every day, if you love yourself and if you love this, every day do something related to this. If you can't, if you're somewhere where you can't write, it would be funny because we're driving. So we were driving to North Carolina to visit my mother-in-law a while back. I had this idea, and I just asked my wife, grab a pen," and I'm telling her, and I'm talking the scene out while she's writing it for me. It's like that was writing. That's still. I mean, I'm not physically doing, it, but I'm still writing. I'm using that muscle. So that's what I said. Just you have to do it. You have to do it.
I think what you said there is really important, even if it's just as a little bit as writing exterior restaurant or interior restaurant, right? But I'm gonna now flip the question a little bit because I'm really curious about your thoughts on this too. Um, Going back to your Bell's palsy, I'm somebody who's suffered. I had a heart attack a year and a half ago, right? Like a major heart attack. And one thing that I'm somebody who's just always on the grind, right? I've been that way my entire life. My mom gave me that disease, like it just because she was the exact same way, right? So I'm curious, since you've gone through this kind of experience, with the Bell's palsy, how do you balance, just taking care of yourself and not kind of working yourself to death at the same time? Like you want to be productive, right? But you also don't want to put yourself in, a bad situation to where it's like, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can't do these things anymore, right? Because you just have done so much. So I'm curious your thoughts there.
That's true. I mean, there have been times when what they call it, they say, burning the candle at both ends. I've done that quite a bit. It's hard for me because, like you said, I'm kind of wired to like if it's something that I love, I get after it. I get after it. But I think one of the things for me, the Bell palsy, because they tested me for all the stuff that they say supposedly causes it, and they were saying, yeah, for you, we think it may just be stress. I don't know, but what I started doing, one, I had to get back to like just going for a walk. Like I used to walk and then I stopped. Um, gained too much weight in the rat eating bad, but it's like just going for a walk. So the thing of it is just take those little moments, like in writing. So let's say hypothetically you have 45 minutes of free time, right? Maybe take 5, 10 minutes to get you some meditation, or whatever, if that's your thing. or walk or listen to something you want to do. Even if the walk is just around your block or something, just get your heart pumping, and then sit and just relax, decompress. Just try not to think for some about anything for a few minutes, and then take your time, get there and type something in. Don't stress it. You're right, because you don't want to. You can't overdo it, it's funny you say, not funny, but ironic you say about the heartache because a couple months back, I had this real bad chest pain. I thought I was having a heart attack, and said no, it wasn't a heart attack, but it was extreme. It said sometimes you can cause a stress related heart attack. So it was like it wasn't, but your levels are way up. So I'm sure you've been trying to be more like, all right, you know, you can't do anything if you're dead. So, so right. So it's like, all right, I have to do this. So I think that it's important to try to be cognizant of the fact that, health is number one. But again, I think for me, at least I'll speak for me, a lot of things that I was doing, I was like, okay, what am I willing to give up to create this time where I can write so I'm not feeling like I'm so overwhelmed? Well, I'm not gonna give up family. I love my family. So I'm not gonna give up family, but I can give up some Netflix time. Instead of watching somebody else's movie, I could try to write my own, instead of I used to watch football ever since I was, don't get me wrong, I check the scores now, but it's like, no, if you have time to do that and this is really what you want to do, forget, look, the Bears are rich. You know what I mean? Those guys are, well, I'm down here in Tennessee now, so I go to more Titans games, but either way, those guys are rich already. I'm trying to get to a point to where it would be great to be rich, but I at least I want to be able to make a living making my film so I don't have to punch somebody else's clock and I can make films and not have it be like, oh my God, I looked at my wife today and I know I said this last time, but this is the last time I'm gonna shoot on my own dollars. Just one more time, I'm stressing her out a little bit because she's like, you just jump in. It's kind of good because she's the total opposite. She's like, she thinks everything forever, and then I just jump in. But yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. I think that what we need to do is just find some time and think about things that you're doing in your life that you don't necessarily need or really even want to do. I find myself like doing a lot of things. Man, I'm a junk food. Like oh my God, sweets and candies. I'm like, all that time you spent rummaging through the pantry trying to find something, take that little 5 minutes. I don't care what it is. Just get you something in, because what happened at least for me, what happened in time is I went from giving it being, stubborn. All right, fine. I said I'll do it, so I'll do a few minutes. And what I started noticing is that few minutes started gaining, building, and building, and building to the point where like, oh man, I look forward. Like it's like if I don't do it, I feel awkward. Uh, so but again, everybody has their own thing. You just have to work with it. It helps for me because I'm in a situation where although again being retired military and I wasn't an officer, I was enlisted, so that ain't really it ain't like I'm rich or anything, but I'm fortunate. I'm in a position that I can afford to take few more risks than other people can, because if like let's say if I take off from my job to shoot this film, and if they say, well, don't come back, well, I still have some income coming in to kind of hold me up. I get a lot of people like that stress them. I had to go to work and I need all these things. So um yeah, I just would say find something. I mean, before you get out of bed, okay, how about this? Let's say if you get up at, I'll just throw some, let's say I tend to get up because of my dogs at 6 o'clock, right? So, all right, if let's say I got up at 5:45 and took 15 minutes writing and then went and take care of the dogs. It's just a little bit of sacrifice to where it grows and you just get to a point to where eventually it's all. Now, in saying that, Alex, there are times, especially when I'm editing, when my wife will come in, it's like, it's like you've been doing this all night. It's time for you to go to work. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize it. I'm like, sometimes I get that. So it might be a little OCD or something there. I don't know what. Sometimes I get that tunnel vision. I'm taking. I'll say this too, though, Alex. Because I love this so much, this doesn't feel like stress to me. and even when I am like stressful about like on set, like, "Ah, we're gonna get this done," it's not the same type of stress that I feel like as far as like if I got a deadline at work and I'm not getting that done. That's like it's a bad stress. That's a bad stress. This is like, okay, how do I finding the fun and figuring it out, you know?
So, going back to your production process, you mentioned earlier that you're shooting your films in under 10 days. And if I wrote this down correctly, you shot this film in particular in 8 days. What does your typical shooting day look like to accomplish that?
Okay, so generally, like I don't storyboard. I do a shot list. Like we do a big shot. We go shot list, shot list. I don't really storyboard one because I'm not good at drawing. I mean, I try, but it's so pathetic. It's like I'm confusing you more than anything. So I don't even worry about that. But I go over. I spend a lot of time in pre-production with my DP, and we really talk about what we want. Like every time, anytime that we can visit a place, like some of the scenes we shot in my house. So when he comes over and we're talking about we're gonna do this and we walk through, we'll take like the our phone and like mock a shot. This is what we're gonna do. And and we kind of walk through it so that by the time the actors get there and he likes it, we already know what's there, So and as you know, shooting some by the way, I liked your movie. I saw Cash Now, right? Yeah, yeah. But as you know from shooting, you plan on these things to happen and you think it's gonna go this way and it goes that way. So you have to be willing to adjust, but for like production, we get there. I right away I just get with my AD. I'm like, can you give me the shot, give me the shot list of what we going over and give me the schedule and so forth. And I go grab the DP and then we just talk and talk while everybody else doing their thing. We're just talking, going over what we want to do. So by the time it's time to, for us to play, it's like we kind of zone we're kind of jiving, and that's a big thing too, like the team. Because again, with the other DP I had, we had like twice the time, more than that, and we still didn't finish everything, but because we weren't on the same page with this guy, his name KC Icky, I can never say his last name right, but KC and I were on the same page. Like I found Alex that I would be thinking of a shot. I'll give you one particular thing. There was a scene going on with the main character was had he was going he was had this kid and the kid was laying on the bed and the main character's here and then I saw the mom was here and in my mind I was like, "Ooh, I see a triangle," so I'm getting ready to tell him go down and get that shot of the triangle, but as we shooting he just like he went right to it. It's like we started thinking alike, like, okay, yeah, he knows what I want. I he knows what to expect from me and I know what to expect from him. So I think a lot of it is just being able to if you have that right team and you guys are working really, really gelling together, it's like it can be there. Now, granted, there were some days we had like because you got to depend on actor schedule. One of the main character, his job changed his schedule on him. So now, well, I had him on certain days. I didn't. So we had this place. I had it rented for 3 days. I can only use one day for that. So I was like, all right, we're gonna have a long night, y'all. We'll come in later tomorrow, but tonight we got to get all these shots because I don't have the money to come back here, and he can't come back. So that was a long day. Like that day, good thing we weren't union. I'm not union. Yeah, 'cause that day we started like 8 in the morning. I think we got finished like 3, 4 in the morning. But but that was one day because of his schedule change. But then the next day we only worked for like 3, 4 hours. I was like, hey guys, I'll make it up for you. I'm sorry. We had to get that. Next day we worked 3, 4 hours, everybody slept in. I was like, just come way late and we'll do it. So um yeah, so it's just planning is the thing. When I first was shooting my other ones, I'll be honest with you, like when I first started, I really didn't I would make a shot list, but I wouldn't look at it. I show up on set and really wouldn't look at the shot list. I wasn't paying attention to those type of things. But as I start, because the producer side of me is like, okay, this is costing you money. When I wasn't really doing producing, no big deal. It's not, I wasn't worried about it. But as I started producing, I'm like, okay, now this is coming out of your pocket. You need to get going because we can't get back in this place again. So if you mess around, miss these shots, you just miss these shots. And so it's like, all right, so let's plan it out. Let's go A to B to C or whatever it is, but have a plan and stick with it. Because otherwise, I mean, you're a filmmaker, you know how it goes. Somebody's gonna start. this guy's got this idea, and that's another thing too. I kind of cut down. Like I ask everybody, please, if it's not that I'm some big whatever, but it's like if it's really not that important that you need to talk to the AD. She'll handle everything. I'm trying to focus on this, and that's key too. A good AD will save you behind, because I've had times when I didn't have a good AD, and it was like, oh my goodness, But a good AD will like really, really save you some. And I had to say, my buddy Yabril, he's an AD, he's good. I don't want him to watch this because you said Shannon was good, and you didn't say me. But yeah, so that's it. A good AD, be on the same page with your DP, with your whole crew, but it's particularly your DP, and know your story. You need to know your own story. Um, I've been as an actor, I've shown up on sets, and so I'm talking with the director because I'm studying. I want to make his movie look good, and I'm asking him, okay, so this is my interpretation, and so where are we here? And he doesn't know or she doesn't know. It's like, okay, well, if you don't know, I'm gonna come with my interpretation, but if it's wrong, who's gonna tell me? Because you know what I mean. You don't even know your own story, and I think that's key. You need to know your story, what story you want to tell, and be confident in it, and know when to take advice, and know when to tell people politely, shut up. Like okay, enough. Because that's I'm sure I don't know, but like when I first started shooting, I would have everybody has an idea of how to do it better than you. Everybody knows how to shoot your film better than you, and that's cool. You get that a lot. Most time they're trying to help, but sometimes all that help is like all you're doing is hindering the process. So I just got to the point now. If if somebody really has, I was like, look, tell it to the AD. She'll tell it to me. And then if it's good, we'll work it. If not, whatever, or if we have time and we're just talking, we just chit chatting, that's fine. But like, sometimes we're really trying to get something and somebody's in your ear, like, hey, what if we do that? I'm like, hold on, this everybody play your position and we'll get through this thing.
Now, with your shooting, a lot of people will try to spread that out, especially if people are working full-time jobs or not. So, were you shooting consistently, or did you have to kind of space out those days?
So with this one, we shot consistently only because what I would do, I would schedule like the main guy, Leonard Jackson. So he said I can work these days, this time and this time. So I was like, okay, I was just gonna schedule his days. I'll get those 3 in a row. But then the next person would tell me, well, I'm available these days, and it'll bump up against it'll bump up against what he says. So I'm like, okay, all right, so I'll do this. If my DP, if the AD, the DP, and if all of us are available in sound, of course, um, if all of us are available to go straight through, then I try to do it straight through and schedule around everybody else's schedule, if possible. Because I mean, I've shot films where we went, this weekend and come back next weekend, but sometimes that turns into, oh, I got to go see my grandmother, and now instead of this weekend, it's 2, 3, 4 weekends from now, and it can be hard to keep that in. So I've just been fortunate. Excuse me. I've been fortunate that the last few I've done, I've been able to block out times and shoot it straight. But now I said 8 days for this film. There was one day we had to go back. We had to shoot a barber shop scene because originally it was a store, and that fell through. And so that's another thing about being adaptable, because the store fell through. So I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? And I was going to get a haircut, and I was talking to the guy that cuts my hair. I was like, hey man, you think we can shoot a scene in here? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I told him I did movies. So he was like, yeah, come on. So in exchange, I said, you just play the barber. You be the barber in the movie, in exchange for him letting us shoot there. But it was like, you just have to be adaptable, because um, I remember the very first film I was it was just the dude named, it was called Two Brothers in a Dope Car. I was like, I hate that name then, I hate it now. But we're shooting this thing and I'm watching them get worked up because we couldn't get a restaurant, right? We needed a restaurant, and I'm watching them getting so worked up. Oh, we don't have a restaurant. And I was like, look, man, what is the scene about? It's about these two brothers arguing. So if they need to do that, hell, go to the hot dog stand, put them on a park bench, and let them have the argument there. Why are we getting so? You know what I mean? Like it's a problem solve. Why are we gonna shut down a whole day because we can't get inside a restaurant? You know what I mean? You just have to be adaptable. So if you're willing to do those things and sacrifice, at least for me, again, but the thing for me and Alex is the beautiful thing for me is I'm so pure ignorance, and well, I can't even say ignorance because I know that you're not supposed to be able to do these things. So maybe it's pure arrogance. don't, I don't know, or it's just being naive to where I just feel like it can be done. We can do it, and we're going to do it. As long as my team is with me, that's it. I will never shoot a film with people who aren't work. If we aren't on the same team, then let's just no. I'm not doing that again. That'll never happen again if I could help it.
What do the budgets look like for your films, and how are you typically allocating those resources?
So I have not shot one that's went over 10,000. So like even with Some Kind of Justice, here's the funny thing. The first time we went to shoot it, I spent like about 10. The second time, I was like, hey, I can't. So the second time it was like about half that, really. But the thing of it is, what happens is like I paid most actors, the main character, like the main character, a couple of them I say, look, I'll give you this option. Either A, I could pay you this like this little flat rate, right? Or if the film does XYZ, you'll get this. And quite a few of the actors was like, yeah, that'll work. And some of them wanted to like the little 75, $100 a day. I'm like, okay, that's cool. If the film does something, we have it in contracts to where if it does something, does more. But the big thing for me is like, I have no shame when it comes to asking somebody, can I use something? Like I like to pay people when they're working on a film, but like I'll go, I'll call somebody up, like, hey, I'll call my buddy, I don't know if he wants me to name drop him, but anyway, he's a professional wrestler named James Storm. So I'm calling him out anyway. But I called him up and I said, "Hey man, this is your town. You grew up here. Can you call this guy named Tommy? We know. Can you call Tommy and see if I could use his bar? You know?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." You know, he's like, "Come on in. It's free. Don't worry about it." You know what I'm saying? So I just use my resources. I call people who, if you're gonna let me in your house free, I called, a couple other friends. Hey, can I use your house? Can I use this? Can I use that? People that the main thing is like for me is like I build a good relationship because like for this film we're getting ready to shoot now, I wanted to use a cabin and we had shot there before, and so I went to block the cabin out, and then on the site it was like all the days are blocked. You can't do it. So I was like, man, let me just email her, and I emailed the lady, and I said, hey, I see that are you not renting your cabin out anymore? She's like, well, I want to take a break, but for you and your crew, it's open anytime. So, okay, cool. So she let me in. So I guess I'm just saying it to where you got to make these relationships with people. Like when we left her house, we shot there. This will be my third time shooting. Every time we leave her house, we leave it better than what we came in. Like if we come like when we came in, her stuff was there. I was like, yo, let's mop the floor, let's wax. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to so that I gain these relationships so people know that I'm going to treat your stuff like I would treat mine. And then it's like the quid pro quo. Like you listen, anything you need me for, I'll do for you, and vice versa. So that's how I'm able to like get a lot of stuff free. That being said, I'm looking to have bigger budgets. Until I get that, I just I beg and borrow. I don't steal, but I beg and borrow. And I haven't spent over 10 on a film yet. Now as these things eventually when they start making some money or getting somewhere, then I'll start spending, you know, money. But as of now, I just budget it. I call in favors. You can't be excessive pride in filmmaking, low budget filmmaker, no budget filmmaker. They don't work. Not for me anyway. Like, I when I first few times, like while we was talking, I didn't know if you heard the little thing bing popped up like bing. That was my cousin hitting me back, like, okay, how much money you need? I'm like, okay, I'll call you back. It's like I don't have any shame about asking. Same time, same but at the same touch, they know that I'm the type of person that, hey, if it does anything, I'm gonna give you back your investment plus some. Um, But the credit card thing, I would say if you can steer clear of that, because if you're not making money off your films and then you running up your credit card, so and then you still have your regular job that if you're living check to check already, and then you run, you know what I mean? It's a bad thing. Even though, again, I just believe in myself enough to where I'm like, it's gonna work. If not this one, the next one, it's gonna work. It's gonna work, and I just have that attitude. And maybe I'll go to my grave saying that, but that'll be what it is. If it doesn't happen, that'll be what it is. I just believe until the day that I am no longer on this earth, I'm gonna have that attitude that I can do it. Even when I wake up in the morning, like, I can't do this. What am I doing? What am I thinking? Who am I to think I can do this? Did you ever see that? It was a master class Martin Scorsese did on directing. Again, paraphrasing horribly, but right before I was getting ready to shoot the film, I was like, "Oh my god, what am I doing?" And I watched that last thing when he was saying, I don't remember exactly, but he was saying if you get up to do this thing and you're scared, good, do it anyway. And he said, and if it's even bigger than that and you feel like it's impossible, that's even better. Do it anyway. And I was like, now if he's saying that, but like a master saying that, then who am I to say I'm not gonna go try to make this little film that I'm trying to make, and he's making this big thing. So I just like, all right, if I'm afraid, then do it anyway. So what? What's the worst that's gonna happen? You don't make it, okay? There's always the next one, right? You a Bears fan? Are you a football fan?
I'm not a huge sports guy, no.
Okay. I was gonna say, if you're a Bears fan, then
I do
all about next
being
year.
being from the area, I will represent Chicago teams,
Okay.
but admittedly, I'm not a big sports
Okay, I'll
person.
go. Well, then you definitely understand. We'll try again next year. So,
For sure. I spoke to another filmmaker recently, and he said something that it's been causing me to reframe how I asked this question. But he said the three things that you need in order to make a film and it kind of just work itself out is a director of photography, and a camera operator. So those were his three key positions that he felt that he needed on set. So, from your perspective, I'm curious, what positions do you think are essential for you to make a film successfully, and which positions do you wish you can get maybe on future projects?
I'm gonna say, well, you definitely need the director, right? I'm gonna say that. For me, an AD. An AD saves you so much. Maybe because because I've been an AD. Um, it's like the least appreciated, but to me, like a good AD is priceless. Um, you said three because I want a 3A and B. The DPs I have are they operate their own camera, so the mine kind of come together. You know what I mean? It's like it's his own. So if I could only pick three, I'm gonna say the director, the AD, and the DP. If you gave me a fourth, I'm sound. How many times you watch a good movie and it's like, oh man, the sound is killing me. Um, because with your DP, he's the lighting and so forth. That's one thing. Like for me, I know my weak point. I'm not good with lighting. So I just get somebody who is good with lighting. Yeah. And I know for me, time management when it comes to like I can get in the scene and like, let's do it again. If I don't have that AD on my shoulder, like we gotta go, or keeping track of time for me, then I would been and wasted a bunch of time when we need to move. So yeah, those for me, the DP, the AD, and the director. Um, yeah.
So this film, Some Kind of Justice, has been on the festival circuit and it's picked up over 30 awards. How does that feel after the experience that you went through having to shoot it a second time?
Man, it's so vindicating. It's like is that the right vindicate? That's the word, right? Vindicate. I don't know. I feel
I
trying
don't
to.
know the complete definition, so don't behold me to that. But let's just pretend for the sake of for argument, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I feel I really feel I feel like I accomplished something. It was a great feeling to when we got in that first festival. I was like, cool, because my cousin said, "Don't send it to Sundance. They're not gonna." I was like, "I'll send it anyway." And we didn't get in, so I was a little bummed about that. But then right after that, we got into another one. And then they said, "You won." I said, "Whoa." Then we got another one, and you won. And we started winning, and it was like, best actor, best director, best, we was picking these things up, and it felt so good. and that one to have your work appreciated, because again, everything is subjective. You may look at the film and like, "Well, how did he win that?" You know what I mean? But so it's all subjective. So to have someone appreciate work that you went through, heck, to do it, you went through this horrible experience the first time. I equate it to like, again, if you playing, I go back to thinking about what it must have been like for like a Michael Jordan when he never couldn't get past the Pistons. Then that first time they finally beat him and they got to the championship and won, and it's like, oh my, we did it, and that's what it felt like. It's like we put so much work in. I tried so hard. I'll be honest with you guys. When I didn't finish that first one, I was so depressed. I was so depressed, and I felt bad. I was like, I never hated being on a film set ever, but I hated being on my own. And I got depressed, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to act anymore. I'm not going to direct. I'm finished. But then there's that dream hunting you. Like, no, you're not. You might be finished with me, but I'm not finished with you. So get back up and do it. And when I tell you, we went. I went to a few of them. Like I went to the one too in Phoenix. I took my oldest daughter there. Well, she lives in Phoenix, and then we went to Greece. We just got back from Greece. We was one at the Muse Festival, film festival in Greece. And it's funny how they do theirs. So they do theirs almost like a pageant, right? So they call up all the people who were nominated. So I got nominated 5 times for 5 different awards. And you're standing on stage next to the other people, and then they call a winner. So the first time I went up, they called a winner. I was like, oh. Then the second time, well, then about the third time, I'm like, man, if I'm up here one more time, I don't win. You know what I mean? Then I won and I won. And it was cool, but it's just the feeling of all the people in the audience being receptive to my project. But the biggest compliment I got is when I was in bigger than any award, when I was in Phoenix. They have, if you have never been in their film festival, you should check it out. I mean, they really do it nice there. But I was in Phoenix, and after 2 times, one time after the show, it was a white young lady. She was an interviewer. She came up to me and she said, she said, I came to your film thinking I was going to learn something, but actually I related to it because she had an unfortunate situation that happened with her sister, and she was like, I felt everything that father was feeling. I felt those things. And, she was like, for you to express that in your film, like that resonated with me. And that was one thing. And then there was another couple again. And I say that they're white, not, it's not about that. But what I'm just saying, a lot of times, when I was talking to the distributor, they was like, well, will non-black people get it? I'm like, this is a human story. But anyway, I had a couple that came up to me afterwards, and they were like, we lost our son. And the moments that you had between the father and the mother, their the hostility it caused between them is like that really resonated with us, and we want to thank you for being honest and putting it out. And that touched me more than any award. When I heard those two things, I was like, this is what it's about. If I can be fortunate enough to have to make, if just those two people or those three people are the only ones that ever say that to me, it all been worth it, because I made something that touched somebody. You know what I mean? They felt it, and I was like, man, that is the biggest gift I could ever. It was worth all the mess I went through that first time just to get that. If that's what that took, then it was well worth it. And I would do it again. Just not with that crew though. Never that crew again. But anyway.
Film festivals have left a bit of a salty taste in my mouth over the years because I feel like a lot of them are just kind of scammy, or, just they take advantage of people. Like I was trying to find film festivals for another project I had worked on, and like half the festivals I had looked at one point, not saying that these ones were particularly scammy, but like they just don't exist anymore, right? Because it's been 5 years since I put out my film, so I just looked at them as a reference to try to, for the new project. Do you think film festivals, I mean, obviously you've had a great experience, but are you going to continue to use film festivals as like a marketing opportunity for you? Or do you like, how do you feel about them overall as like a tool?
Some of them again, like Phoenix was a really good one. I would put it, I'm going to enter in Phoenix again, whether I get in or not, I don't know. Some of them are, but really good, but others, like you say, like I had some hit me up, you know, and then, oh, we saw your film, and then you submit, put the money, then you don't get in, they just trying to get, I'm like, yeah, okay, you reached out to me, but I don't get in. So there was that excitement when I got into the first few ones and I started winning. That if anybody sent me one, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna win." I started putting it in. Then I was like, "Hold on, slow down. I'm just funding their film festival. Is what I'm doing." So um, I would say search the ones that like I read the reviews on some. I left a bad review on one of them. Um, I they told me I was selected, and I talked to this lady. I kid you not. If we didn't have email correspondence or telephone at least 20 times, she said my film was selected on it. So I looked at the schedule. I'm getting ready to go out there. I had just got back from Greece. I'm getting ready to go out there. And someone just said, look at the schedule. And I looked at the schedule and I'm not even on it. And I was like, hey, what's up with the schedule? She's like, oh, I hadn't heard from you. I'm like, you hadn't heard from me. Okay. Yeah, you just want to scam. You just wanted my money. And I'm glad I didn't go out of this because it wouldn't have been nice if I would have been out there. You know what I mean? I already wasted money on thing and I flew out there in hotel. But long story short is that I think some of them are worth it. I would, do your best to like read the reviews and talk to other filmmakers that hey, if a person like if you had, I could tell you my experience with certain ones. I could, yeah, this one was good. This one, you know what I mean. If you know somebody, I would say reach out. I tell you, it's not like I'm ever gonna get in, but I'll just tell you straight. And you can edit this out if you want to, but to me, the ones that really um the thing I don't like about like the ones like Sundance or whatever, it's nothing like what it's supposed like it was intended to be. You take a multi-million, I won't name any particular ones, but you can look at what got in. And these are people who, yeah, it was made outside the studio, but their name brings millions of dollars. So to me, you would call that an independent film. Okay, yeah, technically it's independent. But then they need to create another category, like no budget or micro budget, because how's Alex or Brian or you know Joey Jojo going to compete with some star that's their name alone commands millions of dollars? That so like I would never try that one again. I would never. My cousin told me don't put it in Sundance, but me being me, I'm gonna do it anyway. So I would never into one like that, but like some of the small, like the one I said in Greece, I read up on it, and man, they had the senator there, and the man, I was like, it was yeah, why not? Or like some of the ones that cater. Again, Phoenix is one out and plugging them. They need to give me some money, but Phoenix is the one that they cater to the filmmaker. I look for ones that actually cater to the filmmaker, not just you know their name, because yeah. I mean, some of these places want you to pay $150, $200. And another thing I did too, I would suggest if you wanted anybody who's like, if you want to enter a film festival, I went on Film Freeway. I'll get their information. I emailed them, hey, listen, I'm a filmmaker. I can't afford your fee. Can you give me a discount? You'd be surprised how many people, some people gave me like 90% discount. So like that, if it's taking me $5 to $10 to get in, $20, okay, fine. I'll blow that on lunch or something. But just be conscious and careful of the ones because yeah, a lot of them will leave you like I won't name a few because I don't want to cause beef with you and them. But if it was on my platform, I don't have one. But if I have, I'd say all their name. I don't care. They didn't let me in anyway, so what do I care? Yeah.
So with your with this film and in your previous films, I'm curious what your distribution strategy is and kind of how it's compared to all of your previous projects as well with the new film.
The first one, like I told you, we did. It was DVD from York Entertainment, and she put it out so like being sold. And this is back when people were still buying Blu-ray and DVD. I don't know if they still do, but uh, so it was sold that way. Um, the other one, the one I did a few years ago, Love Incidental. I loaded that on Amazon Prime myself. Um, And that one started, it got a little bit of not much, but I mean, if you kinda I'm sure you've seen the numbers how Amazon Prime goes, especially if you don't just give it to them free, then, it's kinda tough. This time around though, I tried to film I watched you. This is how I found you, actually. I was like, "Okay, what's the best way?" So I was looking up, "Is Film Hub any good?" And I watched your tutorial on Film Hub. And how do you and I need to thank you because I watched you step by step. I would pause you Well, I'm not, I like, let me hit pause, and I'm I'm uploading, doing like the part that really gave me the most frustration was the posters, trying to fit them. And I was like, oh my, well, I was like, wait a minute, Ali said, so I paused you, and I'm working on this computer, looking at that computer. So you helped me. I should give you credit for that. So I'm with FilmHub. The one thing I will say is and I've been emailing FilmHub back and forth a little bit because like I was trying to understand with them, and I asked them, I was like, so how do I know like what channels you pitch to or don't, like when, and like that information I would like to have, because sometimes I'm like, okay, did they pitch to these channels and I got turned down, or did they not pitch, like, and they're nice people, but they just send me that, oh, here's our process, just read. And I was like, yeah, I read that. That's not answering my question. Um, but so right now I'm doing Film Hub. I watched your interview because I thought about indie rights. And I watched the interview with, I don't know, the one guy, it was a black guy, I think he was in California here, Braves, and he said he did indie rights. And then I actually watched the one with the owner of indie rights. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm like, this next one, I'm probably gonna try indie rights. Um, it's just I actually, what I did the day before yesterday, I went on the computer and I just, the process, this Film Hub seemed easier. The process felt easier to me, like a lot easier, because they had with indie rights. I'm like, man, I felt like I had to, wasn't about, you know what I mean? Like, go back and dig out stuff and try to figure out. But I mean, if you get in there, it's worth it. It's just it was more of a lengthy process, and then the fact that you have to send them a hard copy, an actual drive, yeah. Yeah, well, I would prefer to just upload to be done with it, but again, if it's something that you wanna do, I guess they say, "Hey, if you want this, you're gonna go that extra mile to do it." So, I'm gonna try Film Hub, I mean, not Film Hub, I'm gonna try Indie Rights for the next one, and also, right before you called, a guy sent me one, that a festival that we went out somewhere, and they said, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you about distribution." He was like, he said, he said, "Even if you have somebody, we're not you don't have to be exclusively with us." So I'm gonna have a talk with them and see what it is. But one thing I'll caution people about too, sometimes, and I'm not saying this guy is, but sometimes you'll get those phone calls, and then it's like, for only for $1,900 you can, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you reached out to me, buddy. I'm not, no, if you wanted, I like the fact of Film Hub or Indie Rights are the ones that say, hey, you take the 80, we'll take 20. We don't make a dime if you don't make a dime. That I'm willing to go for, but I'm not going for one that says, yeah, pay me this, and no, I'm not gonna do that.
I don't mean to plug myself in the middle of this, but I actually filmed a almost 3 hour like breakdown of just the basics of distribution. I don't know if that's going to come out before that, but I talk a lot about, just exactly what you're talking about, the predatory stuff and like with that, and just kind of the, differences between indie rights and Film Hub. I do want to comment just in case, because Film Hub will randomly just watch my videos. So if they are listening, I think if they want to continue to have a competitive advantage, they need to start guaranteeing platforms, because I didn't know indie rights guaranteed platforms, and now I'm starting to kind of lean like indie rights is starting to sound a lot better right now, because if I can guarantee that I'm going to get on some platforms. Now, if you do everything I say in those videos, you'll likely get on all the platforms that you want to get on, because I mean, if my crappy $10,000 movie got on Apple TV and Tubi, right, like anybody else should be able to, but it'd be nice to have some assurance as well.
True, true. But let me. I gotta say something there. I wouldn't call your movie crappy. Don't do that. I mean, you put
I'm very
something.
self-deprecating
Yeah,
at
I mean,
times.
I used to do that too. But the thing about it is you made a film, and this is. I hope you keep this part in, because sometimes people could feel like, he talking about me. But the thing of it is, you made a film. That's a hard thing to do from beginning to end. How many people almost gave up on this, some kind of justice? Almost gave up on it, but I didn't. But it's like, to go through that process, all the things that you have to do, getting not just the money. The money in itself is just one thing, but everything you have to do, and you have to rely on so many other. Unlike, if I was a singer, we were singers, we could just get up and sing. And I'm not saying it's that easy to make a record, but I'm just saying you could do that. But as a filmmaker, you have to rely on so many people, And when you're able to bring all those people together and you make something, man, I don't care. It may not be obviously it wasn't your the best you're ever gonna do, or it might you might not feel it was best, or you might not even feel it was good, but it was good in that you got it done. Like like the when you asked me about the other, I started not to mention Love Incidental. I was like, but I was like, you know what? No, I finished the film. It's done. It's on Amazon. The next one will be better, and then the next one will be better, and the next one will be better. But if I'm going to continue to do this, I got to start turning some type of profit because, going in your own pocket, and after a while, some of these my friends has been so gracious to like give me $100, 100 of that. After a while, they're like, yeah, you buddy, you know, you know, like we need to see some of this back. So, but yeah, I just want to say that I watched the film and I enjoyed it. So, yeah.
So that leads me into my next question then. How have your films performed thus far?
Well, Some Kind of Justice is really good in the festival. As far as I think with Film Hub, like we got on one, maybe two. But I mean, I only tried it. It's only been like it hasn't been a full. They said 2 to 12 weeks. It hasn't been to 12 weeks yet. Some Kind of Justice. That one has been. I've been getting really good feedback from. The other one, Love Incidental. I don't know why I came up with that name. I just was like, oh, it sounds weird. So, but that one that did okay. Certain audiences, like the females that watch it, like the black female audience that watch it, it performed well with them. Others are like, hey, it's okay. It performed decently. The one that I did years and years ago, I told you when I made it, it was called Rough, Rugged, and Raw. On the 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 distributor said, no, that sounds like a different type of movie. We're not going with that name. So they changed it to Platinum Players. And that one actually did fairly well. And that's one like when you say you're a crappy movie, that's one I'm like, don't look at that movie. It's so crappy. But it actually performed. That's one that I made. I think we made it for like 3,500. And I got back like 25, 20. Now, you would say that's not a lot of money, 25. Yeah, but I mean, if you talk about in relationship to how much I spent for it, you know, it so, it made a little bit of money. But all the other ones I did, like I had one that I wrote and I didn't like it. So I just never released it. It was like really, it's not so much that it was bad. I could deal with bad, but don't not boring. You know what I mean? Like, I might watch a movie like it's not that great, but it's not boring at least. The one I didn't release, I was like, this is a boring movie, and I just can't, put that out. So three of them did well, relatively speaking. Justice is still finding its feet to see. We'll see what it does streaming, but as far as festivals go, it did well. I'm hoping to my big thing is I want to be able to hook up with a group of like-minded people. That's why I reached out to you because I watch you and I was like, man, this guy is a filmmaker. He enjoys film. He's talking to people about films. He's doing tutorials on how to upload it. Like the stuff that you. I know you have a Patreon and so forth, but basically you're giving a lot of it away for free, and it's helpful to filmmakers if they utilize it. And I think that one thing that should be celebrated is that um, when you're doing that, you're helping the community. Even though you're right outside Chicago right now, I'm in Nashville. This dialogue, talking to one another, is like, okay, oh, you did this. Oh, maybe I'll try that. You know what I mean? Like we need to, as filmmakers, especially us at this level, we need to really work with one another, talk with each other, and it's like it should be a friendly competition. Like I went to again, the Phoenix, man, I plugged them so many times. I went to that festival and it was a friendly competition. Everybody was supportive of one another. But I've been to some where it's like, it's a totally different thing. It's a totally different vibe. Like if your movie does good, it's gonna make mine do bad. I'm like, no, I mean it's enough, it's okay for us to like more than one movie.
So I don't know if you're going to have a take on this since you're not a big social media person, but I'm curious to get your opinion on this. So one thing that I've kind of observed over the last couple of years as a filmmaker, and actually one of the reasons why I started this channel, is that it seems like the filmmaker behind the channel nowadays, especially with micro budget films, almost needs to be as marketable as the film itself. Now, I've noticed that there's been like a powerful wave of support as far as like black made micro budget films, especially in the rise of platforms like Tubi. And then, even like in mainstream projects right now, like a good recent example is Sinners, right? And part of that is community backing. Part of it is filmmakers like Ryan Coogler just consistently delivering incredible work, right? So, what do you think drives that momentum, and what can other filmmakers learn about building support around a project or a creative voice?
So if you had asked me this question, say a couple years ago, I was like, I was nosy. I was like, social media, and even now, like with the one, because we cast it now, and I have people submit through Actors Access, and they'll put in their little comment, I have this following and this. And I'll be honest with you, as a filmmaker, I'm like, man, that sucks. Like I gotta compromise. This is the attitude I had sometimes. I have to compromise movie maybe to put somebody in just because they're popular doing this and they might not even be the better person. Like because I need to know, I need to get eyes on my film, but at the same time, this person is better. So that part of it I hate. I hate that part of it, but at the same time, I understand it is a business. So it's like the producer in me is saying, yeah, she's got a good following or he's got a good following. Can they act? For me, though, the bottom line for me is, can you act? If they can't act, if they can't do the role, then I don't care how many followers you have. Well, let me not say that because if you get a Kardashian in your film, I'm sure everybody's going to watch it. You know what I mean? So, but that's just the thing. Like if you have these people follow, if they have a huge following, you gonna put it in there. But I I just I just wish, like when you talk about Kubler, like Ryan, it seemed like everything he touched, he just hits it out the park. You got those guys. He's just that guy. So it's fortunate. That's a good thing for him. Um, but I'll say this too though, because I don't make the typical, like a lot of people say, "Well, oh, you make black films." Not really. I'm black and I make films. And yeah, like the films I had, the last few I've done where the cast was black, true. But if you take that off of it, if you switch a little bit of this dialogue here, a little bit there, anybody could do it. So this one I wrote here, this last one here, I just cast it. I put it open call, and I'm really thinking that this is probably gonna be the one where it's like probably no black people in it. And I'm not doing it on purpose. Like if somebody black comes and do it, but the way the story that I'm telling and what I wrote, I don't when I was writing the person, I actually, to be honest with you, I was writing with my friend in mind, the one I told you was the AD. So I was kind of writing with her in mind. And she's not black. But anyway, anyway, so and then so her sister would be there. I mean, so the story is gonna go and it's not gonna be that. So I know that I'm gonna lose that. I may lose that community backing. You know what I mean? Like that may be lost, or they may say, "Well, he's a black filmmaker," so that may help. Um, some people say, "Well, you shouldn't." I I was just talking to a friend. I'm shooting a music. I don't like shooting music videos, but I'm gonna shoot a music video for him this Saturday, and we were talking about it, and nepotism came up, and I was like, "Listen, if my kids wanted to be in my films, I'll put them in there, because to me, why not? You know what I mean? If they could do the job, if they can do the job, why not let them do it? That's one less person that I have to pay. If I do pay them, it ain't gonna be much. You know what I mean? And it's like building. So I think that we just have to get away from worrying about things that aren't. This is the director talking, not the producer. Worried about things that aren't film things. If I had my way, I would pick the best person, regardless of what your following is, right? If you had no followers, if you weren't on social media, if I had my as a director, writer director, then I would say, man, this person is really great. But now here comes the producer, Brian. Like, but if that person can act almost as good, let's go with that one. because I want to get eyes on it, and I hate that because I wouldn't want to, as an actor, I wouldn't want to lose out on the job because of that. But I know I have, you know, and that's unfortunately that's the part of the business that's kind of sucky. But again, and I think like you had asked me, and like when we were talking in our email, like what's the business aspect of it, and I think like I was saying, we have to treat it like a business. Sometimes it's I speak for myself, but I know most of the filmmakers I know, we get so involved in the art and wanting to do this and wanting to do that, but at the same time, at some point you have to turn some type of profit or you can't continue to make the movie. And so I'm at this point now where if anybody happens to be watching this and want to just throw a few 100,000, I'm cool. But I'm just saying, you just get to a point where it's like, I want to make this film, but I want to make this the best film and I want this, but at the same time, I gotta make money off. There's gotta be a spark. I'm not saying it's gotta make me rich, although that'd be great, but it's gotta be something's gotta pay off. I can't continue to just take money out and nothing come back this way because you can't sustain like that. And so yeah, I guess you know, I'm reluctantly saying I get the whole following thing, but again, as an actor and as a writer and director, I hate it's come to that. I think the person who's most qualified should get the job, but unfortunately, looks like that's not the way it is.
I usually I feel like at the end of these kinds of interviews, somebody will ask, like the typical question, like what advice do you want to leave off on or something like that. But given your situation, I feel like I can uniquely tailor this question to you. So if somebody's sitting on a failed film right now, unsure if it's worth redoing, what would you say to them?
I would say if you believe in that story, like if the story's good and it's something that you want to tell, absolutely do it. Restart. There's no shame in starting over. You know, look at it like this. If you had bad credit, if you had to file bankruptcy, would you just stop? Okay, I filed bankruptcy. I'm not going to try to make any more money. No, you're going to get back up and you're going to, do what you have to do to try to get it together. So if you're sitting on a film right now that you either started writing or you started shooting and it failed and it didn't go, and you really believe in this project, then go for it. Come back at it. I mean, it worked out for me. I failed miserably, but I got back up. I mean, I had health issues. All these things happened, but I got back up and we did great on the festival circuit. And here's the thing. I don't a guy I met out there, he said, "Hey, look my thing up. Here's my review of your film." And I was like, "Oh, I appreciate it, but I'm probably not gonna read your review." Because the thing of it is, I'm not interested in your like or dislike. It's like that's your taste. You know what I mean? Just because your taste isn't my taste doesn't mean it's a bad movie or a good movie. It's just a different taste. So I try not to take I don't take in worrying about what other people think too much. I'm human. You want people to like your film, but at the same time, it's like if I'm going to live by your praise, then that means if the first time you say something I don't like, I'm crushed and I can't work off of that. So no, it's just like I know what I had to do to get this film made. I know what I went through. I know if nobody else knows, I know how much I struggled to get this thing made. So it's well worth it to get back up, dust yourself off, and go for it. And hey, look, um, if you need somebody to talk to as far as like, well, what exactly did you do to get going again? I'm open, you know what I mean? You can reach me easily. Um, one my email or something. I don't know. But you know what I mean? So I say, yeah, that just go for it. Now, having said that, if the movie just fell because it was just a bad film and you didn't believe it in any way, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, move on, because I've done that too. Like the one I told you was boring. I was like, I could keep trying to figure, but I don't even like this film. So why am I going to keep chasing this? I don't like it. There's nothing wrong with starting over. But if you believe in it, finish your film.
If you could be a fly on the wall for any production, what would it be and why? Like big or small?
Past or like in the past or
I'll leave that to you to decide.
oh man. All right. So one of them, I'm a huge Prince fan. Huge Prince fan. So I want I have to watch Purple Rain. Just I that's my guy. My sister took me to see that when I was like, I was way too young to be seeing that movie. And ever since I saw that, I was like, look, man, on my arm is the symbol. So I'm a huge Prince fan. So Purple Rain. But outside of that, let's see. Film set of any movie. It would either be, man, this is a good question. This is a heck of a question, Alex. I think I would either go to, I know this is gonna sound like cliche filmmaker, but I would probably either do Citizen Kane with Orson Welles or some Scorsese movie. I don't know, maybe Goodfellas or Taxi Driver, but probably Citizen Kane was, because the things that he came up with, he the things that he invented, that we still use today, especially like that first, when he's that shot when Charles is out there playing and
Going through the
oh,
window.
yeah, 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 and he comes
Yeah.
through. I'm like, oh man, just think about like who had done that before that. Um, and he's another guy that I watched that says, pure ignorance is why. And I was like, okay, yeah, that must be my thing. So yeah, I would say Citizen Kane if I could be a fly on the wall in that production, just see how he did it, the way he did it without all the tools and toys that we have today.
That's an interesting answer. Nobody has said that yet, and I like that answer just because, like you said, I don't think a lot of people. Or I'm sure film nerds like me and you know this, but he basically invented what we know as modern day filmmaking, right? So like, what were the decisions? Like, what was he thinking about on set while he was making this before production and all that? So that'd be a very interesting set to kind of observe. Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming on today. I mean, I absolutely love your philosophies towards life and, filmmaking in general. So, I wish you the best of luck. You'll have to keep me updated on your projects. We'll have to revisit sometime. Where can people find your films? Go ahead and plug away anything you want to plug.
So if you want to see the old one I did, that's not that great. Love Incidental, you could just go on Amazon Prime for that. What I'm gonna do for your audience, I'll send you the link to the film for Vim. You can watch it. I'll have to the Vimeo, and I'll just either open it up or just throw you the password. I don't care. And your audience can watch it for free until like if it if I ever get any sorry, if I ever get on any channels, then we can revisit that stuff about where you can find me. But right now, it's still mostly festival. So I'll give you the link. I'll shoot you the link after this email with the password, and anybody can watch it because I just want to get eyes on it. And if you love it, great. If you don't, that's okay. I mean, I'm sure you won't be bored. But even if you don't like it, I would appreciate just giving it a watch.
I want to give Brian another huge shout out for coming on the channel and talking with me so candidly. Like I'd mentioned before, I just absolutely love his philosophies toward filmmaking and life, and it's crazy for him, to go through the experience that he did and still find, the power to finish his project. Like I couldn't imagine having to, go into production and then just completely having to start over from scratch. So I definitely commend him on doing that, and I hope that's a learning lesson for everybody on their films. Is just don't give up. Even when the odds are against you, if you're really passionate about a project, don't give up. Again, Brian's film will be linked in the description if you would like to check it out. And if you like this video, I would appreciate if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel or any of the platforms you may be listening to this on. And of course, if you'd like to help support me, my feature film, Cashing Out, is linked in the description below. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have a couple other videos here linked on screen that you may find helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.